Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, mayors, thank you for having me here. I come from the second most beautiful city. I come from the second most beautiful city in the world, and as you could see, I have been supported in preparing my presentation by the son of the next speaker, who is doing an internship in our company this month. So we've heard about the global long-term visions. We heard about European strategies where we'll really go down to the local level now with the example of Zurich, an example to start with, and I will end with the lessons I've learned, having been a parliamentarian, having been a researcher consulting at the local, national and international level today. So Zurich's energy consumption compared, we're about at 5,000 watts. If you compare that, it's more than the double of the world, and it's half what the US is using. If we look at Zurich's greenhouse gas emissions compared, oh, that's not the, okay. We see that we do quite well. If we look at where our energy comes from, we see that a lot of energy in Zurich comes from nuclear power. And if we look where we use the energy for, it's very clear we use it for housing, we use it for heating. That's a big chunk of energy we use in Zurich. Based on this development, based on these facts, Zurich decided to do a dramatical strategic shift, and since studies show that current living standards can be maintained at 2,000 watt, we decided that this would be our objective. Moreover, global justice also demands sufficiency, and we have seen that in the presentation showed by Jerry. The city of Zurich committed itself to sustainability and to sufficiency. This is more than just efficiency. We have been talking about efficiency, we have been talking about renewable energy. We believe we also have to talk about sufficiency. And 4 years ago, 76% of our population voted in favor of a strategy aiming at 2,000 watt and a 2,000 watt society. We want to set an example. We want to set an example for other cities in Switzerland, in other countries, but we also want, together with these other cities, have an influence on cantonal, national, and on European level. So we are setting ambitious goals. It's a commitment to sustainable development. It's reducing our energy consumption to 2,000 watts per person by 2050. And reducing also our emissions to 1 ton per person by 2050. Because we know reducing energy consumption and getting rid of nuclear has to go together with also taking care of our CO2 emissions, otherwise global warming will be paying the price. The main measures are in different areas. First of all, we are promoting renewable energy and energy efficiency. We are coaching people who want to renovate or to build new buildings in Zurich. We are advising small and medium-sized companies, and the advice, the coaching is free if the changes are implemented in their business models. And we are consulting individuals regarding energy efficiency of systems and also of equipments in their household. We have strict regulations on new or on renovated buildings. We've even increased these strict regulations a couple of years ago. And we are not planning to have new investments in nuclear power plants. And the last point, and that's where my company comes in, we are supporting this transition process with research, particularly studying behavior changes and cultural attitudes that have to change as well in our city. Here, an overview of the compulsory specifications for buildings, and you see that they have been enhanced a couple of years ago. 100% of the heating requirements of new buildings have to be covered by renewable sources in Zurich. That's the goal. And green and grey energy also has to be optimized. I know that also in Ljubljana, you're going in the same direction. This slide shows the general strategic goal regarding Ljubljana, also 25% of renewable energy sources by 2020, 20% improvement of energy efficiency by 2020, 20% reduction of greenhouse gases, and you also want to save the final energy you use. And if all these measures are implemented here in Ljubljana, the share of renewable energy sources will be 21% even in a couple of years, and greenhouse gas emissions should decrease considerably. This example just to show that on the local level, I believe cities are moving in the same and in the right direction. Let me take a step from the local to the national level. And this shows, for example, in Switzerland, that sometimes dramas have to happen in order to make politics move. In 2011, and following the Fukushima drama, Switzerland decided to phase out completely of nuclear energy, not replacing our nuclear power plants after the end of their safe operational lifespan. The last nuclear energy plant will be shut down in 2034. This, of course, is a very, very clear signal, and it's a very important decision. And the new energy strategy of Switzerland therefore focuses on the reduction of energy consumption, on broadening our electricity supply. You saw to what extent Zurich is depending on nuclear energy. We will have to maintain electricity imports, and that's where international cooperation fits in. We have to have smart grids for energy transmission, financial incentives, and so on. So let me turn to the lessons learned. And actually, this is not the very last presentation I gave to you, so I will add something that is not on this presentation. The first dimension I would like to talk to you, lessons learned regarding results. And that's a very good news. We see that financial incentives work. They really work, and they work effectively. That is the good news, but it also tells us that we have to be very careful in giving financial incentives. Impacts have to be assessed carefully. And moreover, benefits at the end must be greater than the costs of the financial incentive. And our experience shows that we can be successful in fostering energy efficiency and also in increasing the share of renewable energy. However, we are not yet successful in reducing our energy consumption. And Jerry, I still believe we have to, because of global justice. Even if energy efficiency is going in the right direction, we will have to take sufficiency also into account. And we are not successful in reducing energy consumption because behavior changes are not yet taking place. Second chapter, lessons learned regarding policies and strategies. Energy security, climate change, and economic development have to be addressed jointly. This has already been underlined, and it's also a lesson drawn from the last economic crisis in Europe, where I realized that as soon as jobs are at stake, sustainability pays the price. So these strategic goals have to be addressed jointly. And good intentions are good. They are not good enough. Clear political decisions are decisive, and they give the right signals also for industrial investment. My experience shows that industry, the economic sector, can cope with almost everything. Market works, but they have to know what the rules and regulations are, and they need clear and sustainable decisions taken by politicians. Third point, think global, act local. An old philosophy still is a valuable strategy. Comprehensive approaches linking international, national and local strategies are crucial. And that's where I had some additional information. I think working on the local level is decisive because you reach tangible results. People see what the results are. You reach measurable results, and you can benchmark cities with other cities, and thus you can learn from each other. And the European Energy Award system, Slovenia is part of that system as well, gives a step-by-step process, a step-by-step approach that helps you comparing your results, your efforts with other cities, and this is an important sharing of knowledge and sharing of experience we definitely need in order to become better all together. And when it comes to policies and strategies, my last lesson, energy strategies have to address behavior and consumers' cultures, because at the end, it's the consumer who decides what kind of equipment he or she will buy. Strategies is one thing, but they have to be implemented. And therefore, I would like to share some experience there. I believe Europe's strong public sector will be absolutely key. That's a strength of Europe compared to other parts of the world. We have a strong public sector and we have to take care of it. Specifically, when it comes to public procurement, this has the potential to be a decisive driver of innovation and smart growth. Usually, we look in public procurement to buy at the lowest price. We have to change our attitude. We have to buy the best, the innovative, the sustainable equipment and the sustainable innovation. And secondly, public administrations need clear objectives. Usually they have been governed by their budget and by rules and regulations. We have to govern them by objectives. Shifting from an input to an output-oriented management of administrations therefore enhances evidence-based decision-making and innovation. And the 2020 objective of the EU will not be achieved without behavioral changes. Civil society, therefore, have to be integrated in planning, in decision-making, but also in the implementation. And Jerry showed that new institutional models have to be thought of. Research needs. We need more public and private investment in energy research. In Europe, we lack private investments in research compared to the US, compared to Asia. Public fostering of research and innovation has to compensate for that. And we have, on the other hand, have to show the companies that investing in Europe is a good thing to do. We need long-term basic research on energy production, and even if we are all not happy with ITER, fusion is still remains an important issue there. And first of all, we need, I think, applied research on energy storage and on energy transportation. And this is a very short-term need we need in research. And we have to think energy efficiency beyond the individual building, beyond one building. We're good in building in energy efficient buildings. We are not good in building energy efficient neighborhoods and cities. And there we have to become better. And we need research on how people change their attitudes and how they can be motivated to do so. We don't know a lot about. We know that parents have a little influence. Peers and friends are much more important in this regard. And let me come to my last slide and the last lesson, the objective of addressing grand challenges. And that has been the objective of the European Research and Innovation area board is to drive integrated research all the way from basic science to innovation and to the application in the market, in society. And we believe that strengthening science and innovation in order to address these grand challenges is an effective way to contribute to smart, inclusive, and at the end also to sustainable growth. And that's where the local experience links up with what our Member of Parliament has been saying.